At the heart of America's active lifestyle is an ever-growing appetite for energy sources. Currently, and for the foreseeable future, none is more crucial than oil.
We are dealing with a commodity that is absolutely essential to the way of life of the typical American.
It permeates our society, impacts everything we do.
It's in paint, it's in cosmetics, you name it, it's all oil.
Our nation needs energy. We're addicted to it.
We are so dependent on these big tankers coming from other countries. We have become so vulnerable to supply disruptions.
Although often overlooked, part of the solution may be right under our feet.
A lot of times we think that all the oil and gas comes from the big international oil companies, and that simply isn't true. A lot of the oil and gas in this country is produced from small, independent, and a lot of times family-owned producers.
The United States consumes approximately 12 million barrels a day. Of that, we produce ourselves around 50%.
In most fields, 2/3 of the oil is still in the ground.
Mom and pop operators are some of the most innovative people you will ever find, who are on a shoestring budget, incredibly tough and intelligent people that make this industry work.
Small marginal operators are not J.R. Ewing, they're not big oil, they're not super giants. They're operating these small little 2.3 barrel a day wells. But collectively, with the 400,000 or so that are across the nation, these wells are extremely important to the energy needs of the United States.
Keep in mind that even though much of this industry has migrated to other parts of the world, this is an American industry. We do not control our own energy destiny. We talk about being self-sufficient. The independent operator, they are part of the solution.
Independence, self-reliance, ingenuity, the very traits that have defined American spirit may hold the key to meeting the nation's next great challenge. As morning breaks on the small village of Rouseville, Pennsylvania, a group of loyal journeymen arrive to coax an aging oil well back to life.
McLintock Well number 1 came in August of 1861 at a depth of 620 feet.
The team's dedication and experience enabled the McLintock Well to retain its title as the oldest producing well in the world.
It's been in continuous production ever since. Not a great producer, but a steady producer. Very much like the other wells all across the country, which are the backbone of the industry.
The McLintock Well is really no different than thousands and thousands of wells just like it across the country. Certainly it's a lot older, but all these wells still produce oil, they can still be operated economically, and they still help contribute to the oil that we need in this country.
I think the average American thinks of the oil industry as whatever the name is on their gas station where they go fuel their car up, whether it's ExxonMobil, Texaco, the big major oil companies. Really, that's not the case in the U.S. I mean, the U.S. Production in the U.S. is done primarily by independent operators.
They think of a person who's from Saudi Arabia. They think of an Arab sheik, or they think of a huge tanker. They don't think about a small operator who drives a pickup truck that's four-wheel drive, that's out there operating these oil and gas wells. And that's really what the oil business is in the United States of America.
Aside from Alaska, 90% of the wells that are drilled in this country are drilled by independent producers. That is, people who are not affiliated with one of the major companies.
We're not finding the volume of production in wells that we drill in the continental United States that they're finding overseas. But we still have a tremendous amount of oil left in the ground.
Oil fields in this country are just gems sitting there. In most fields, 2/3 of the oil is still in the ground.
Big companies basically don't want stripper wells. They want elephants. And they're going overseas to look for elephants. They're going deep water. These wells are the providence of small marginal operators. We have a lot of them. We have over 400,000 of these small stripper wells in the United States.
A stripper well is a well that produces less than 10 barrels of oil per day or less than 60,000 cubic feet of gas per day.
It's called a stripper well because there just isn't much there.
And the idea is to be able to squeeze or peel or strip all that remaining oil, as much of that remaining oil as possible.
When you look at marginal production or stripper well production, individually those wells do not make a significant impact on this country. But collectively, they produce 30% of the oil that's produced in this country and 10% of the gas.
It's amazing how many states have production, and in a lot of states all of the production is from marginal wells, or 99%. A state like New York or Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, those states, almost all the oil wells are under 10 barrels a day.
When a well is new, it has higher pressure. Normally the wells will flow when they're new. In other words, flow the products to surface, oil and gas to surface. As the wells get older and as we deplete them and take out the oil, take out the gas, the pressure downhole diminishes. It keeps getting lower and lower and lower. And so we don't have enough pressure anymore to lift the fluids, oil or water. So it comes to a point where the wells simply can't flow on their own anymore. But as the well gets older, it becomes harder. And so a lot of the majors don't want to become boggled down with that, or they don't want to get involved with all these high operating cost wells. So a lot of times the majors will either abandon wells or sell them. And that's where a lot of the small operators come in. They'll go around and buy wells off the bigger companies who can no longer afford to operate them.
A given well by itself producing 2 or 3 barrels a day is not a big deal, but collectively extremely important to the production of the United States, to the energy needs of the United States.